Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today for day 3 of Note to Self from Bythewell4God. This one was written by Jessa, and she is Jessa Crowned by Jesus on Instagram. And I kind of pulled out all my little bits and pieces, and the first thing that I want to do is create a little envelope. So I have pulled out this envelope punch board by We Are Memory Keepers, and on there you can there's a guide that kind of tells you how, based on the size of your finished envelope, what you need to cut your paper down to. So for me, I think I needed to cut it down to like 5.5 or something like that. And then it also tells you where you need to line the paper. Here's that guide that I was telling about for like all different sizes of envelopes. And then it tells you where you need to line up your first punch. So mine was like 2 3/8, I think. You just line it up, and then you press that circle, and then you go down that score line, and then you line up that score line with this little section on the tool, and then you just score it and punch and score and punch, and you just go all the way around, turning your paper counterclockwise every time. And so it's just a really simple little tool. I have another one that's actually a mini punch board that's a little bit smaller that works really well too. And then there's a corner rounder here on the top part. It's that same punch, and you just at the top of this little thing, and then it just rounds all the corners, and the bone folder tucks in on the side. It's a handy little tool if you like making envelopes. So I'm just going to fold these pieces up. This is what I'm going to use to hold my little image of Jessa there and some flashcards. And so I'm just kind of folding it. I just want to kind of show you. I just went through with a bone folder, but you could also use this the opposite direction if you wanted to, more like a coin envelope, just depending on how you glue everything down. So I'm going to add some glue and make this into a little envelope. So today, Jessa's devotional was talking about choosing Jesus and not being distracted. There's so many things that can distract us. And so she has us in Luke with the story of Mary and Martha. And so I really wanted to just kind of take the title and make that a focus. And so the title of her day was Choose Jesus. So I'm using this little letterboard stamp set. This is from Bythewell4God. I'm not sure if it's still in stock, but I will put my affiliate link down below. If you have this one, you certainly pull it out. This is a good way to use it. And so I'm using my little stamp positioning tool here because I want to make sure I get a really good impression of this. So I'm just kind of putting it on there, and then I have my paper turned so that I can get this kind of in the lighter part of this paper. This is one of the pattern papers that coordinated with the kit, and I am stamping in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. It just gives a nice crisp ink. But the thing that's good about this is if you don't get a good impression the first time, you can just re-ink your stamp and then stamp it again. And I ended up having to do that a couple of different times, actually three or four. I think my ink pad is getting a little bit dry and I need to get a new one, but it also comes with all the little letters that fit there to make that look like a letterboard, but I decided to go a different way with that. And then here I'm just using a Posca paint pen. This is a red one. And I just go around just to add some color to my little letterboard here. And then I just kind of rough cut that out. Like I said, you could use the little alphas that come with this, but I decided I wanted something just to pop a little bit more. So I'm going to use the Tile Alphas stickers from Bythewell4God. These are in the blue color, and I am just going to pull the letters for the title, Choose Jesus. And then I'm pulling one of the stickers from the devotional kit just to kind of balance that top section up at the top, because I started a little bit too low with those stickers, which is fine. And so these are kind of all my little pieces and parts that I'm going to be doing, but I want to work on my background now. So I actually pulled out these papers. These are, again, from Bythewell4God with the paper pad that coordinated. I have the 6x8 paper pad, but it also comes in a 6x6. Just using my Barely Arts precision glue here. So I'm just going to glue this down, and then I will kind of line everything up, and then I'm going to trim that down. So I will also glue another one of these papers on the other side, and I just made sure to try to line it up so that the lines looked like they were kind of continuous across there. So I'm just holding this for just a second, and then you can see the excess there, but I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And this is a Versamark pen. So you may have seen people use Versamark ink for embossing, but they also have a pen, and it's made to be like a watermark. And so it's really kind of hard to see, but what I'm doing is I just went in with this pen, and I'm not actually going to emboss or anything. I'm just writing, I will choose Jesus is what I wrote. And I just wrote it over and over again, like, when you're in trouble. And so you can kind of see that's really how it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to make it look like a watermark, but because this paper has almost like a coating on it, it's really subtle, but in real life, you can see it a little bit better. So I just wrote that all over both pages, and now I have all my little papers. I wrote out the verse there where she was talking about the story of Mary and Martha, and how Jesus told Martha, who was really upset about Mary not helping, that Mary had chosen the better part. And it's really important for us to do that as well. We live in a world that is just full of distractions all the time, and not just responsibilities, but just, just noise, just that, our phones are always in our hands and those kinds of things. And it's just important to remember to choose the better part, which is really the point of all this. And incidentally, there is a book called Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World. If you like to read, and I would really suggest that book. It's a really good book. But anyway, what you see me doing here is I want to make my little letterboard look like it's hanging. And so I have these little black brads, and I'm trying to get this to go through that one page without going like puncturing all the way to the back side. And so I punched a couple little holes here. I'm working on a self-healing mat, so I just have the little awl there, and I punched a couple holes. I'm going to add a couple of brads there in the corners, just real loosely, and then I'm going to add some string to make this look like it's hanging. But I was fussing with that brad up at the top to make it look like it was hanging, because again, I didn't want to puncture all the way through to my other page. But I do have right kind of underneath there is the backside of one of the other pages, like my little file folder. And so I was trying to be really, really careful not to puncture through there. But so what I did is I ended up finding a brad. So I just tied little knots around those two brads, but I found a brad that had like a bigger head on it, but it had the little prong parts were a little bit shorter, and that ended up working out perfectly. So I can kind of, I can't obviously like open it up like you would do with a normal brad. So it's just, what I did is I just kind of stuck it down in that hole. I had made a little hole there, and I'm just kind of sliding it down the paper, and so that both prongs are kind of back behind there, and then I just pushed it down, and that is going to hold that there. But I did, you can see it didn't come through there at all, which is what I was concerned about. It would have been easier if I would have thought about this before I glued that paper down, but this is, sometimes I just create things and then I go, oh, I should do this, and make my life harder. But I did add just a little bit of glue just kind of in the center of this letterboard. I didn't glue it completely down because I want it to kind of look like it's hanging. So having it not completely glued down will just help with that. And then now I have all my notes. I have my scripture written out here. I have some notes and a prayer on the back side of that. And I'm just going to create a little pocket with my envelope that I made. So I'm just putting glue down on the two sides and the bottom. And I will be able to tuck my little notes back there. And I wanted to add something just to kind of balance on this left side, but I didn't want to take away from the focus of that letterboard. So I just used those craft florals and this little speech bubble over here on the right. And I'm just going to glue those down, and then I will trim off the edges, which in hindsight I didn't really need to do because I had enough room because the pages are smaller than the cover of the book. But I went ahead and just just trim those down. I'll tuck my my scripture down here in my notes in that little pocket that I created. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I went to ink up the edges of all of this with some archival ink in ground espresso. And once I'm done, that's pretty much it. I just did decide that I really wanted my little picture of Jessa to be on the outside of my envelope here. So I pulled her out and I'm going to just glue her on the outside. And then I'll just have those little flashcards and the scriptures tucked in the little envelope. So with that, that is everything for my page. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That just helps other people find my channel. And until next time, bye.